Greetings and welcome to another episode of Shop Talk down here at Page 3's Game Zone. I'm Nathan Varney.
I'm Cody Little.
And I'm Aaron Sawyers.
And today we're going to be talking about the second edition of A Game of Thrones, the card game, but it's the living card game.
The living card game, the card game.
One of Fantasy Flight Games' oldest living card game properties. And they finally, they announced, I guess, at Gen Con in 2014 that they were going to be doing a second edition, to which there was a lot of moaning and gnashing of teeth.
God, yes.
Buy so many cards and then...
including from people sitting at this table. But this has finally arrived. It's
about time.
It was a little late, which is in my experience, that's a little bit unusual for Fantasy Flight to be quite this late, especially on the release of a core product like this.
Yeah.
So, but nonetheless, it's finally here. So let's get right down to first. What are the most notable differences between first and second edition for each of you guys?
Hand limit.
Okay.
The plot cards now have an additional number on them that at the end of the round that you're playing, that's how many cards you're allowed to have in your hand.
Okay. Whereas before, for those of you that are familiar with first edition, and the reason I want to differentiate here is because for anyone that's watching that maybe has not played first edition yet, that's why. And then for those of you that have played first but haven't played second yet, so we'll try our best here to note the differences of one versus the other here in that fashion. So previously I had
a deck that on like turn 2 or 3 I would have like 14, 15 cards in my hand. This one now I think the average is like 5 or 6 that you're allowed to keep in your hand. So that really limits that, but it's not really that bad.
Yeah, because before there was a draw limit per turn, but there was no hand limit.
Yeah.
And now there's no draw limit per turn, which is much easier to keep up with than, okay, well, how many cards did I draw this turn? Because that was very tedious.
Especially since there was some things, it's like, look at this card and put it in your hand, it does not count against your draw limit.
Right. So now it's just, it doesn't matter how many cards you look at and place in your hand or how many cards you draw, it's just, each plot now says, this is how many you can have at most at the end of this turn.
Yeah, and each plot's reserve is actually different.
Yep.
So you have to be very strategic about what you play, saying, okay, well, I've got 10 cards in my hand. I really probably shouldn't play a plot that allows me 4 reserve or 4. So
yeah, because otherwise I'm going to be pitching almost my entire hand next turn,
and
that would be bad.
Yeah, at the end of your turn, you have to meet your reserve or discard down to your reserve.
Yeah. So that's one of the most significant things for you.
Yeah.
For me, the way the cards play, actually.
Okay.
Each of the factions are different now. They have in the first edition they had a thing called influence, where you could kneel influence and usually do specific things depending on what the card required. They have now completely nullified and got rid of influence, and each card plays different now. Like the Targaryens were heavy influence and required that you have a lot with ambush. Well, now there are multiple cards that have ambush, where you pay a cost of ambush with gold instead of influence. And now used to be the Lannisters were heavy kneeling; they were really controlling. Now the Baratheons are real heavy control. So it's shifted around about how each core faction plays.
Interesting. Okay. I thought that was probably the most significant thing. The biggest change was influence, and not so much because of what influence did before, but because that was the thing that normally had the biggest question mark for people trying to teach them the game for the first time. Yeah. What does this little banner mean? Yeah. Don't worry about that. It's not in this deck.
Yeah, you're not playing the right deck.
Yeah, it's like, what?
There's like Targaryens and Martells are the only ones that really use it.
Right. Yeah. So it was something, and then of course it was also confusing when someone did use something that actually utilized influence, then it was like, wait, how were you able to do that again? And it's like, well, these flags that we told you not to worry about, you have to worry about them now. So I mean, it was. I'm glad they did away with it.
Oh, absolutely. I felt it was
Yeah.
a useless.
As
it
an,
was
as an,
unnecessary.
yes, as an ease into play, and an extra rule that, like you said, was just that could have been done in a different way, and now they're doing it in a different way, and you just don't have that. It's one less rule to learn and to teach.
I think it
So-
actually works a little better like this anyway.
I think so too. Yeah. Okay. Anything else that stands out to you?
Actually, cost of the characters has went up.
Yes.
Almost all the characters average around 4 or 5 now, where you're getting like a 3 or 4.
Yeah.
And then the big
I
characters.
thought 3 before. I thought
Yeah.
first edition was most characters seemed like a 3.
Yeah.
Was
most,
average.
Most characters I think average at 4 now, and your large characters go up to 7.
Yeah.
I don't think I've seen any bigger than that yet.
There's 1/8.
Okay.
There's
Yeah.
1/8 cost.
Whereas a 5 or 6 cost character was a high cost
Yeah,
character
that was a big
in first
character.
edition. Yeah.
There was a couple 7 cost characters in that, but they had a lot of them lower.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And that's another thing. There's not as many lower costs yet.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
But
Another thing is, I love this, that all factions are represented in the core set.
Yeah.
Unlike the first edition, they require the starter set had 4 factions,
Yep.
and you could gain the Martell and Greyjoy by buying the expansions later on.
Yep.
In this one, all 8 factions are represented in this set.
Well, there's 8 factions.
There are
Yeah,
eight.
Yeah, it's not just, it's like you said, first edition had 4 that you could make decks out of the box. There were 2 more that you got house cards for, but it was basically like, oh, by the way, you can buy these sometime later, but don't worry about them right now.
Yeah.
So here there's 8 factions, all able to construct decks of those 8 factions out of the core set.
Yep.
So yeah, that's a plus to me as a player. That's a plus, and as a retailer, that's a plus because it's not confusing to customers.
Yeah.
So I thought that was a really big deal.
now, they did set it where it's a little bit difficult to build like just a single faction. You almost have to combine
Fair enough.
2.
Yeah.
Fair enough. And I don't have a problem with that.
Yeah, I don't have a problem because they give you a deck list
Yes.
to make them.
Yeah. So, but just the idea of, well, here's some stuff, and Fantasy Flight did that on multiple games when they first started. Now I don't have a problem with adding factions as you go, but when you produce a core set and then you put material in there that's like, here's some stuff that you can't use yet.
Yeah.
Completely wasted cards.
Yeah, because the core set had the Greyjoy and Martell card.
Yes.
The
First
house
edition.
card.
Yes.
Yeah, the first edition had the Martell and Greyjoy house card.
Yeah.
But did not involve any cards.
Yeah.
Outside that.
So that's I'm glad that it's just we want to have 8 factions. Here they are, and speaking of Night Watch
Yes.
Yeah, they're their own faction.
is its own faction now,
Night Watch
and I
is
like
its own
that.
faction.
They were just neutral. The
Yes.
last one.
I like that they're their own faction because they should. I feel like they should be their own faction thematically.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah.
As they've kept the wildlings as a neutral card, which is I
And
think
I'm okay with that.
fitting too.
Mhm.
So, and that's and I think they've already got 4 chapter packs. I haven't got a chance to look at those, but I'm really excited because I'm sure it'll help build the decks out really well.
Yeah.
There's also another one. This core set seems like with the decks that you get, they seem a little more balanced than what the other one was.
Oh yeah.
Because in the first core set, it was Targaryens and Starks were really good.
Yeah.
Baratheons were decent, and Lannisters kind of got shafted.
Yeah, you basically you shouldn't play Lannisters even if you're just playing out of the core set in first edition. And here,
Lannisters ended up being one of the stronger decks
later, but
Yeah.
not initially.
core set. No.
Yeah, no, I like the idea here that you've got a good shot of winning no matter what faction you're
There's a
playing.
couple factions that still suffer a little bit, but whenever you combine them with the other ones, they tend to equal out.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I think something else that we've talked about before, it's not in this video, but just amongst ourselves here, is that they changed the art.
Yes.
Both the
Most
box
of
art,
the art.
well, yes, but the feel
Most.
of the game, and I feel like they have bridged successfully between the feel of the books and the feel of the television show.
Oh yeah. Absolutely.
And the art on the box and such looks much more slick and attractive. And not attractive, not from the sense that, well, it's got Daenerys on the cover, but just
Maybe a little bit of that.
but just the idea of it's a much more appealing box to see on the shelf and to look at and to potentially attract a customer than the first edition was, where it was really plain and very a very monochromatic looking cover. And I know this has got a lot of similar colors, but I don't know, it just, the art really jumps out at you as opposed to just some generic, like, pictures of like warriors on the front before.
And speaking of
even the cards, the art is generally better.
Yeah.
And speaking of changing the art, they've even changed the arrangement of how the cards lay out as well, which is so much better to actually see, even for a beginning player.
Yes, I agree.
So I've really enjoyed it. I was very questionable when they first announced it. I was one of them. I was the naysayer. I was one of the naysayers when we first announced this new set. I didn't know if I was going to buy into it, but thanks to our early bird special, I really got into it and ended up buying one, and I've loved it.
I actually think I like this set better than the original.
And we spent a lot of money on the first one.
and that's something I think that's important to note is we're three people sitting at this table that had invested a very sizable amount into first edition.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
I think all three of us, I know you've just said it, and I know I am, but I think all three of us are in the boat of this is better.
Yeah.
This needed to happen.
It really did.
So, and for some people it's like, I don't know, and then you play this and you go, oh wow, yeah, I can't, yeah, this, yeah.
I started out going, I don't know how I want to feel about this, and we played, and I was like, okay.
Yeah. The whole time. So it's they did a good job.
They really did. I hope they can keep up the pace with this. Like he said, it's more balanced this way, and I hope that it stays this balanced. So it's more relying on the skill of the player rather than luck.
And I think that they will. I think they'll be fine because I think they learned from some of their early editions of stuff that how to now properly balance their product.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, do you guys have anything else before we finish up today's video?
No, Fantasy Flight. Keep it up. I'm excited to see what else is coming.
All right. Well, I look forward to try to do some reviews of some of the chapter packs as the new ones release. So
Absolutely.
You guys be looking forward to that. For any of you guys out there watching, let us know what you think about this new set, about what you think about some of the differences, good or bad. I mean, we're interested to see where you guys are at on that out there. And as always, we thank you for watching Shop Talking here at Patriots Game Zone, and we'll see you next time.
I'm about Fantasy Flight a calendar.